these are buzzwords. So now that you've seen the language of the instructional designer, these words come into play and you go, what do these things really mean? Like, what does microlearning really mean?
Mini lessons.
Exactly.
Short amount of time.
Chunking. It's all the same thing, right? Small little bites of information. Gamification. Gamification is a weird one. I'm going to sit on that one for a moment because gamification is a thing that the educational training, learning, and development world got wrong. Okay, they've kind of started acknowledging it. It doesn't mean making a game.
Not Kahoot.
What?
No,
It's not Kahoot. Not using Kahoot.
Yes.
No. Well, that is kind of, but I would not say making Kahoot is gamification. You know, the original idea was, oh, well, we could just make a version of Jeopardy or Family Feud or whatever and call it a game, and people will learn that way. Well, that's not how people learn. You know, those trivia games are actually horrible ways to learn because you never come back around. Like when you get something wrong, it doesn't typically come back around for you to do it again. To me, gamification equals engagement. Okay? Whatever is engaging to you is gamification. When you play a game, you could have a text game. I don't know if you're old enough to remember the old text-based games on the computer, and you would like type in pick up cup, you know, and you'd be exploring in that manner. But those were pretty darn engaging, and there were no visuals. You know, there was a game called Myst a while back that was basically you were just exploring. There was nothing going on, just still images, and you would move left and right and forward and backward, and you'd explore the world. And it was really engaging, but there was nothing going on. There was no game. People like avatars, right? They like to pretend. They like to be asked questions. They like things to be relevant to what they're trying to do. They like it. You know, if you're going to play asteroids as a way to learn how to, you know, enter a checking account in a piece of software, there's no connection between those things. So you can gamify it, but you're not going to teach me how to put a check in the system by making me play asteroids. But I can put a time challenge on the table, right? And say, you've got 5 customers that are going to deposit checks. You have to be able to deposit these checks in our system in 3 minutes. Go. That's a relevant, and it's a challenge, and it's engaging. I can ask you a question in an e-learning course, and you don't even have to answer the question, right? You don't even have to type it in. But if I ask you the question, in your head, you're going to answer that question for yourself. I can pretty much guess that that's what's been happening tonight, that as I'm speaking and I'm asking a question, even if you're not answering it to me, you're answering it to yourself. That's engaging.
Right.
To me, that's what gamification is. If you want to add points into that, if you want to add a leaderboard, great. But it's about engagement and figuring out how to capture your learner and get them involved. Storytelling is a good form of gamification. You know, if you go look at video games, one of the things that's really huge is the fact that there is a story being told, and you follow the game because you want to hear the story. So let's move on to social learning. Social learning, what do you think social learning is?
Social learning, could that be what you learn from your participation in social activities in your life, from what is happening in the world, and would that be social learning?
Sort of. It is a way of social learning, sure.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Working together toward build knowledge.
Sure. Heidi?
Or to work towards a task.
You can have a blog.
Yeah.
Related to a course with questions, or have participants share their experience.
That's closer to the answer.
Discussion boards?
Yes.
Oh, in a course? Okay.
Yes, it's a Facebook group. It's a LinkedIn group. It's being interactive with other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there was a chat board and you guys were sharing with each other in chat, and for all I know, you guys are doing that, I don't know. If there was a chat going, that would be considered social learning. It's learning from your peers in other ways besides a formal classroom.
Exactly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there are systems that allow for that. Some learning management systems have chat capability in them, but and obviously in the internet marketing world, they use Facebook groups, and you'll see learning ecosystems. Probably Blackboard probably has that in it.
Yeah.
So that people can post and chat and such. Mobile learning, what is that?
Learning
Your phone.
on your
Oh, sorry.
phone
But
or your tablet or whatever.
Correct. That's right.
yeah,
Learning on the
fun.
go.
Yeah, it's being able to have your content usable on a phone.
Accessible.
So here's where this becomes weird. All the tools allow for it. Very few people are using it. In my world, bankers aren't allowed to have a phone available to them. A lot of times they either have to lock it up somewhere when they go to work, or they're not allowed to have it out. They're not allowed to be on Facebook, whatever. YouTube would be mobile learning, right? If you're watching a YouTube video on how to do something, a tutorial, that's mobile learning. If you put a PDF on a phone and somebody can scroll through the PDF, that's mobile learning.
Mhm.
PDFs are like mobile ready. I mean, you can just load them up and look at them on your phone. The challenge comes with like e-learning stuff, because what happens when you turn your phone sideways? Does the whole thing rotate? There's a lot of things like that. What happens if one person has an iPhone and one person has an Android? There's a lot of challenges that come out of that. Some people are really weird about their phones. I have people at work that I work with that they're like, if it's work related, it's not happening on my phone. Not unless you're paying for my phone. But you have people that are working on telephone lines, or they're out in the field at a construction site or something like that. They don't have a laptop. They have a tablet. They have a phone. So you can deliver content in that way. So it's a weird one. And, you hear a lot of people say we need to develop mobile first. Well, okay, what does that actually mean when you hear that? So that's what mobile learning is. Okay. Blended learning.
Combination.
It's
What?
a mixture.
A mixture of what?
Classroom
Maybe
online and
face to face or online classes and whatever else, maybe social learning.
Yeah,
A combination
it is.
of many.
It's all of it together. It's taking multiple modalities and offering them as a solution. So when we were talking about the flower, right, and there were the 4 dots around the petal,
Right.
that's a blended
Mhm.
learning experience. A flipped classroom is a blended learning experience. So how about just-in-time learning, or as I said earlier, was JIT?
Identifying a need and doing a training immediately, like right then and there, or something pops up. You
Yeah.
get somebody in there to take care of it and teach it, or
Teach it, or
assess
it's a
the
tool,
need.
right? Or it's a job aid,
Mm,
or it's performance support that might be part of a system, like an online help system that shows up. You guys
Spin 'em.
remember Clippy from Microsoft Office? Do you remember that?
Yep.
That Clippy was just-in-time learning, right? You can type in what you need, boom, you get your answer, you go.
Like a help bar.
Yeah. Learning experience design. This one's a funny one. What do you guys think that is?
Which one? The learning experience design?
Yep, LXD.
Well, when you are creating a content as a facilitator, let's say that you have a contest that you want to chair, right? And to support a group of people that are learning. You can create or design an experience that contains the most important or relevant subject or critical item or elements that you need them to understand, but you do it through an activity, through an experience that bring up the reflection so that they learn through that activity. Or let's say a game, it can be something, put a music and then give them instruction to do certain things and follow the instruction, and then you for me, it's like creating an activity, or you can call it a game. I don't know if that would be the best terminology, but it's designing something that they learn through experience, not through the listening or through reading.
Okay. Heidi, what do you think it is?
I think it's probably part of learner-centered approach. It's probably the same as instructional design, but just focusing on an activity, as Maria said.
Okay. Becca, do you have any thought on that?
Designing literally like how your learners will experience the content.
Okay. Vanessa, do you have a thought?
My thought is just a video I saw previously that
That's right. You probably saw the
compared
video, yeah.
instructional designer to a learning experience designer. So I was trying to find my notes on that.
What's
and
the
it was a lot
difference?
of knowledge versus information, and how, as a designer, what do you want your learners to do, and how to convert that knowledge into information. Is this versus have?
It's kind of a weird one, isn't it? This is one of those things that, to me, it's really just the evolution of instructional design, because we're now not talking about
that.
classrooms, and we're not talking about learning content so much. We're talking about the experience that somebody has as part of the learning process. Becca, you were with us in Savannah when we went to Savannah. Remember we went to that art museum thing? The
Savannah.
SCAD. We went to that thing, and there was a show.
Yes, I remember. And it had it was like 3D interactive kind of thing, and it was like Disney.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember.
That.
I don't remember what it was
learning
about
experience.
exactly. But it was that college.
Yes, it was the art college. The art college in Savannah. That is learning experience. When you go to a museum, like you
the
go
history,
to,
you were teaching the history of the museum. That was what they were doing.
Actually, everybody on this call is in Orlando. Have you guys been to the Titanic Museum? Anybody?
I haven't.
Okay, the Titanic Museum is an experience. When you walk in, you are immediately assigned a person that was on the Titanic. As you go through the exhibit, you are presented information. My understanding is that it's presented from the perspective of the person that you are. Your role play, you're kind of in this role. And then at the end, you find out whether you survived or not. The museum that's in, where is it? I want to say it's in Texas, but I'm not sure that that's right. It's like the World War II Museum is a very similar type of thing, where you are a soldier that's gone off the war and you find out if you survived. These are experiences that engage you in a way that's very different than just sitting in front of a PowerPoint or just being in a classroom. It's how you navigate through the content and how you interact with it. So it's an experience. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that is the learning experience design is I will say the key performance indicator of a good facilitator, because a good facilitator must find different kind of ways and different kinds of element to involve on the facilitation of content, and they normally are recreating activities and things like that to be able to engage and to help and support the learning, of course.
Yes.
So it would be the positive and sort of the opposite of passive learning.
Yes.
Yes, very much so. So when you go back and you look at the diagram that I created for the LXD SIG group, and you look at the things that are in those hexes, that's what my vision of a learning experience is. It's all of those things involved with that. It's like video, it's the virtual classroom, it's the way the internet marketers work. It's all of that stuff together. It's the experience that you're creating. it's number 8, right? It's the user experience. It's designing that user experience.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it comes out of other words like CX, which would be customer experience, or UX, which is the user experience, or so it's that's why it's a buzzword. So it's a word that kind of tries to describe what it is, but it doesn't really do a good job at it because it encompasses a lot of things. Do you guys know what cloud learning is? What the cloud is?
Yeah.
Okay. It is exactly what you think it is. It's the internet cloud. A lot of tools like Rise is now a cloud-based application. When you make a Rise site in Rise, you're not making it on your laptop, you're making it on their server. If you need to publish it, it will publish down to your laptop, but you're not building it on your system. However, Storyline is not a cloud tool, right? It's an application that installs on your desktop. Continuous learning, that's kind of an obvious one, right? Learning never stops. We're always learning new things. Curated content. Do you guys know what that means?
It's not new content necessarily. You have something already existing and you're trying to adapt it
Kind
to
of,
a new environment.
kind of, yeah.
Improve.
What does a curator at a museum do?
You had mentioned this before.
Yeah.
At last time, bringing things together.
Yeah, the
Pulling
curator
from
at a
what's
museum
available.
goes out. I need to make an exhibit about mammals in the southern United States. As a museum curator, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find artifacts and things that make up that exhibit. I'm going to bring them back to the museum and I'm going to set them up in a way to tell the story and present it to you. Did I create any of it? Probably not. What I did do is I created the experience. That's what a curator does.
So like using resources or available resources to create.
Yes.
Content.
I spend a lot of time in my current role doing that because there's so much content and so much information that gets created in a corporate environment by so many groups that half the people don't even realize that the other stuff exists
there.
And it's really just grabbing all the pieces, bringing them together to tell a unique story. And people go, wow, that's great. I never saw it all together like that. And that's why, because it's separated all over the place. Personalized learning. What do you guys think?
Focused on the specific needs of a person.
Individualized.
Yes. So if I create an e-learning course, is it personalized?
No. Well, depends.
An e-learning?
Yeah, an e-learning module.
Could it be if this user gives the correct answers, then he may skip some parts of the program because he already knows that?
They could, yeah. So are you saying it can be personalized?
I think so.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you. It takes a little work and it possibly takes extra content and extra time to make it happen. But I agree with you. What I don't think is personalized, I think it's kind of a weak answer for personalization, is when at the beginning it asks for your name and then every so often throughout the course it drops your name in it. See, that's a weak version of personalized because it's not really personalized because the information I'm getting is and the experience I'm having is no different than the person next to me, except that the name is different. But a curated experience could be personalized, right? Because I can present all the information to you and how you weave your way through that content is your own.
What would be some other examples of personalized learning?
I think most of personalized
learning
lands in the order in which you take the content, right? So if I just present you with a syllabus and say, these are all the things that we're going to cover, and these are all the resources, go do it. How you approach that, I might give you 4 videos. Like Vanessa, are you watching all those videos that were out on Slack?
No, I've been going through.
But you're not. But you're not watching all of them, are you?
Not at once, no.
And you might choose to not watch some of them because you're like, I've heard this over and over again now. I don't need to hear it again. right? So you're
Okay.
choosing to not have it, yourself choosing to not have a piece of information.
Okay.
When you design a learning experience or design content in a way that is not linear, the participant may choose how to learn it in different order, and in the end, things will come together.
That's right. I want to believe that what we're doing here is a little bit personalized because you guys are getting to ask the questions and give feedback based on your own experience, and you're putting the pieces together for yourself. You're following a prescribed path that I've created, but you're still having discussions with each other. So maybe it's personalized. I'm not sure.
Is this popular now? Is this a current trend? Like, I know it's buzzwords, but
Yes, it is. And a lot of you'll
Okay.
start hearing people talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and using artificial intelligence to create personalized learning based on feedback and, you know, how people react to a course and which ways they go through it. You know, because you can like ask questions, and based on how they ask, you know, you create branches all over the place. Here's an example. Becca, you watched this movie, but I don't know if anybody else has. On Netflix, there's a thing called Bandersnatch. It's part of the Black Mirror show. Have you guys, has anybody seen that?
Choose your own adventure kind of thing.
Yes.
It's
I've heard of it.
What is the name?
It's called
Bandersnatch.
Bandersnatch.
Where you choose what happens. I've heard of it.
As you go through the story, at various points in the story, it will stop and it will ask you to pick an answer. And sometimes there's 3 choices, sometimes there's 2. And you basically are picking the path of how that story goes. And sometimes the story remembers where you've been and it kind of winks and nods at you. It's a really unique thing and it's really cool, and it kind of wraps around on itself, and I would recommend you check it out. But do you guys remember the Choose Your Own Adventure books from back in the day?
The Goosebumps, yeah.
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, where you're reading a piece of thing and at the bottom it's saying, you know, it asks you to make a choice and then you go one way or the other. And you know, that's a personalized book.
I'm thinking, I don't know if this is something in my world, choice boards, where we would give the learner several different options of assignments or tasks, and they would choose themselves, and you know, it could be like create something out of this using what you learned in this. And is that?
Yes, it is. What you've done is
Okay.
you've created an experience, and then they get to pick the pieces of the experience they want. But it's like, you know, there's 3 columns and you got to pick something from each column, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's also called cafeteria learning.
Cafeteria learning. Okay.
Because it's like a cafeteria, right? You're presented with the buffet and you get to pick the things that you want.
You get to pick. Okay.
And if you wanted to, as long as you pick something from each column, you could pick 2 from one column if you wanted to, right? They're not held to 1.
No. And then it would involve different, like different I lost the word, like science, reading, and math, different content areas, and one could be creating a script for something,
right,
based on something they learned.
Some of that is, you know, modality, right? People like to be able to read, or they like to watch, or they like to hear, or they like to, you know, they like to do with their hands. So you might have 4 activities in each column based on each of those modalities. That's what you're describing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Based on the type of learner or learning style.
Yep. That would be called personalized learning or cafeteria learning. I have a book here actually called Cafeteria Learning. So the last one is digital content. What's digital content?
It's available online or accessible?
The content that you create and you can share online.
Does it have to be online?
Digital, I think so.
I want to make sure we're using online the same way.
Electronically?
I think it's closer to that, yeah. That it doesn't have to be on the web, right? It could be in the course. And if you could download it out of the course, it's digital. And if the course exists on your computer, it's not online. So maybe I'm being picky with words.
That is very confusing. Sometimes I struggle with that. Should I say digital? Should I say electronic? Should I say? But I guess
I think it's all the same.
Everybody's in the same but I don't feel that bad on that way because I feel that it's a common confusion. Let me put it in that way to
So
determine what is the right terminology.
I would say that digital content is very close to the word media that we saw on the other slide,
Maybe, okay.
right? A digital content could be a job aid, right? It could be a PDF, it could be a PowerPoint, it could be a spreadsheet, it can be a Word document, it can be video, it can be audio narration, a podcast, it can be a blog article, it can be a Facebook post, it can, anything that is available in digital. Is it a workbook? No, not unless you download that workbook and print it out, right? The downloaded version of it, the PDF, is the digital content, but the workbook in my hand is not digital. It's physical. Does it matter? You know, most things are going to start out in digital format,
Mhm.
unless it's a live classroom and you're going to hand somebody the book.